Every day means every day. My name is Brandon Burns. I'm a motivational speaker and peak performance coach, life and business strategist. I've closed over $10 million in sales. I have worked with Olympic athletes. I've worked with eight-figure entrepreneurs and CEOs. I've worked with Grammy and Emmy award-winning artists. But most importantly, I want to work with you right now because I've got a question for you that if you are looking to create meaningful, lasting change in your life, this is a question that almost nobody asks. And I think people would be wise to ask it. See, people make a big deal out of the strategic planning process of your life. Oh, you got to have a 5-year plan. You got to have a 10-year plan. You got to have a vision. I mean, come on, that's biblical wisdom, right? Write the vision and make it plain so that he who reads it may run to it. And though it may tarry, wait for it, for surely it will come at an appointed time. I believe in all of these things, and I believe that there is good foundational wisdom behind all of these claims. However, I think that when people emphasize the importance of planning out your life strategically, I think oftentimes they go about it the wrong way. And I'm sure if you're into personal development at all, you've heard people like Jordan Peterson talk about his method of life planning. You've heard Tony Robbins talk about his method of doing it. Mine's a little bit different. Because what almost everybody asks you to do is start with the perfect day, right? It's called the perfect day exercise, very, very common in personal development. And it's trying to identify what you want and what would make you happy, right? And first of all, let's just start there. What would make you happy is a terrible goal in the first place because your happiness is not what's going to sustain you. We know this because hedonism is very short-lived, right? I mean, if you go have a weekend binging on freaking methamphetamines and alcohol all day, like it's not going to last very long, A, because you're just going to off yourself, but B, it's a little hollow, it's a little surface level. So happy, pleasure, fun, that's not really the point to begin with. But take that a step further. I think that asking the question, what's going to make you happy, or even what do you want, is the wrong question entirely. Because see, we all say when we hit this number of money in our bank account that we're going to be happy. When we get to this weight or this aesthetic in our bodies, we're going to be happy. When we get to this level of promotion in our job, we're going to be happy, blah, 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 on and on and on, right? But the problem is we keep moving the goalpost. I mean, A, to even think about, like, do you know what would make you happy? Because you probably don't have exposure to it in the first place. Like, people typically, when they're asked that question, they give an answer, which is something they've never actually experienced. They say, oh, well, if I was financially free, I'd be happy. Okay, well, how do you know? You ever been financially free before? No? Okay, so why do you think that you know that's the thing that's going to make you happy? So it's usually a stupid answer to begin with. It's usually just not a very good answer. But furthermore, it makes people think about very vague ideas, right? What could make you happy could be one of a million things. I think here's a better question. This is the question I wanted to ask you today in this video. What would you regret? That's a good question because it's more specific, it's more tangible, and it's more consequential. Whether or not you're happy, like I said, it's kind of, we can get there. That's great. That's like optimization, but there's a lot of checkpoints you got to check off before you get to happy. Happy is like the promised land. That's like the final boss of life, you know? It's not something that's going to be like, boom, there it is. And so it's a journey. It takes a little while, and that can be difficult to stay motivated and stay on track for a long period of time. But I think that knowing what you don't want is more important. I think knowing what you would regret in life is more important because that will set the tone for your decision making in a way that is more concrete than trying to identify what you want or what would make you happy ever would be able to do. Let me give you an example. When I was getting ready to go off to college, I knew that I wanted to pursue collegiate gymnastics. And I had a bunch of different options. I was blessed. I took school very seriously. My mother, who helped homeschool me, did a phenomenal job. And so I did really, really well on my test scores. I think I got like a 32 on the ACT or something like that. And so I had a decent amount of options. Pretty much all the Big Ten schools I was accepted to. Stanford didn't let me in, which I still hold a grudge against them for that reason. You know, but I had a couple different options. You know, I had probably 10 different schools I could have gone to. And I remember thinking, okay, if I pick this school, I'm not going to trash talk any schools, but if I pick this school over here, I'm probably going to compete all 4 years. Like I will probably realistically, looking at the gymnastics team that they have now and my current level of skill and ability and my trajectory, I think I will be able to compete for this team, right? Alternatively, I looked at Michigan, at that time, 2-time defending national champions. And I said, I don't know if I can make it here. So I had a decision to make. It was either, do I want to succeed and compete all 4 years at a school that's going to be middle of the pack, maybe a little worse than that? Or do I want to take a chance on trying to be the best, or at least be amongst the best, and risk failing? For me, that was a non-starter. That was a very easy decision. For me, I said I would rather fail at trying to be the best than succeed at being mediocre. That's my perspective. That's my perception of the situation. I view entrepreneurship the same way. I could have very easily, I'm very, very good at sales. I could have easily gotten into sales, high ticket closing, life insurance, whatever, and made $250,000 a year. By most people's standards, that would be considered success, especially if you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, you're killing it, right? Make $250,000 a year, multiple six figures. By the time you're, 25, 26, that's huge. For me, that's failure. Because for me, I know what the ceiling is there, and I know that I wanted to pursue a calling that I felt like I had on my life, not a check. I made the decision a long time ago I was going to count souls, not dollars. And so for me, that version of success that everybody looks at and says, oh, that's success, to me, that's failure. To me, there's not enough juice in that. There's not enough life in that. Same situation. I would rather take a chance on the big dream, risk failing, than go with the safe option. A lot of people that follow this channel are traditionally younger men, in their early 20s, entrepreneurial, into fitness and just personal development, bettering themselves in general. And one thing that I always tell people is that this is the time where you can take risks. You don't have the obligations and the responsibilities that you're going to have later on in life. So if you fall into that category of people, if you're in that demographic, take the risk now. But again, take the time to sit down and write. What would you regret? Because for me, I'm not going to regret going for it and giving everything that I had, becoming the person that I would become in that process, by the way, and then never achieving the end goal. I'm okay. I'm at peace with that. I promise you that I am. But me lying on my deathbed after being an insurance salesman for the past 40 years, saying, man, I had private jet and yacht dreams, and I settled for, 6-figure job and a white picket fence, 2 dogs, and a nice house. I settled for the American success story when I really wanted the American dream. You got to know that about yourself. Because for me, if I go bankrupt, like if I do all this entrepreneurial stuff and for somehow, I'm quite happy with how things are going at the moment. But if, God forbid, something happens later on and I go bankrupt, to me, that's not failure. It is in a short-term sense, but it's not the ultimate failure. The ultimate failure is never trying. The ultimate failure is never going for it. And I know that I will certainly regret never trying way more than I will regret any potential possible failures that could occur along the way. So you got to ask yourself, what is it in your life that you could look back on and that you feel like you would regret? Identify that thing and then make every decision you possibly can to get as far away from whatever that is as you possibly can. And let that be your anchor. Let that be your comfort. Let that be your comfort. That no matter how hard things get, no matter how difficult this is, no matter how much adversity and failure that I might encounter along my journey, at the very least, I can hang on to this. I didn't do that. I didn't quit. I didn't run away from what I really wanted. I didn't let myself down. I wasn't weak. Hang on to that. Stop asking yourself, what do you want? You don't know what you want yet. You'll figure it out as you go. But again, direction over perfection. Generally, I want something kind of like this. Great, run towards that. But specifically, what do you not want? What would you regret? Figure that out, write it down, meditate on it daily, and I promise you, it's going to change the way that you perceive life, perceive failure, and the way that you make decisions. Hey, share this with somebody who needs it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, don't forget, every day means every day. Peace.